Moken, could you address two things? The notification process. I know we had the meeting back in the spring. And then two, the project list of, you know.
Yeah, we send notices to all property owners for that public meeting. Was in June 6th.
No.
Well, we did send notices to all property owners. I don't know if he received or not, but and then we have that in newspaper. We also publish in newspaper, and we had a meeting here. And after that, we.
May I ask you something? How many homeowners showed up for the meeting with the trees?
Well, there were like about 25, 30 people showed up in the meeting.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting because
and
none of my neighbors mentioned that they got a notice other than, here's your choice, you know, check this box, do you want your tree replaced?
Well, that was next stage. Before that stage, we had that public meeting here, even before we sent the notices.
I never received any such notice, and I talked to a couple of my neighbors and they did not either. As a matter of fact, the Peliquins, who are one of the people that signed the easements, they only received the notice that they're going to cut down their tree. Nothing about a meeting, because certainly, especially Kevin Peliquin, being that he's a paramedic and also a fireman, he would have attended because he was at the meeting here a couple of weeks ago. So, you know, I don't know who got these letters, but I'm talking to a number of people and nobody's saying they got one, other than the, you know, we're going to tear your tree down. And again, let me state, it's not the trees. It is the trees, but it isn't. The whole point is that you're taking a lovely area and a somewhat historic area. There's a number of homes on East River that are century homes. And you're ripping down these trees to widen a street that doesn't need to be widened. And the street, yeah, it could use some paving, but it's not that bad. Once you widen it and pave it, it's going to be a racetrack. If there's a 35-mile limit right now, then you can watch, and they're going 50, sometimes 60, and if you're late at night, you can see motorcycles hitting probably 100. So just out of a safety factor alone is wrong. And then we're losing 2 feet of our property, which has some impact, but it's going to have an impact on our value of our homes. Because, I mean, if you have a home a street that looks somewhat picturesque, and then now it looks like Kansas, I mean, what's the point? I mean, it's going to look like Cleveland Street.
Chairman, again, this street we are not like widening. We are not putting another lane or something. When we get federal money, we have to meet some of the criteria, which is 12 feet wide length and minimum 11 feet. The light poles, which are power poles, they are too close to the street, which is safety factor. The ODOT and federal highway requires that those poles be moved at least 3 feet back of the curb. Those are the certain standards we have to meet once we get the federal funding. That's the reason we have to, move the lights. We have to move the curb. We have to add another 2 feet to get additional, full width. And that's 12 feet is a safe width, is as described by ODOT, as recommended by ODOT and Federal Highway, and that's what we have to abide by. And we are not really widening the street. And we are making it better. We are replacing curbs. We are replacing all driveways. We are making all those concrete driveways, concrete curbs. You will have 6 inches of curb, which is more safer than having nothing at that location.
Okay.
But all these years that, by golly, we've never had any problems with not having curbs, and nobody's hit a light pole. But I'll tell you what, once you straighten that street out and once you give them an extra couple feet where they can pass, I can assure you, I don't care where you move those poles, someone's going to almost invariably hit one. I mean, it just makes no sense. I mean, you're ripping down everything for what?
Those poles will be moved back, not forward.
I understand. Well, no, if you moved them forward, they'd be in the middle of the street. Then they'd be like road bumps. I understand that. I understand the back and forward.
Okay, Mrs. Mitchell, you had a question?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Thank you through you, Mr. Milken. Can you explain to this audience, please, how and why East River was selected for the stimulus project? Thank you.
East River Road was one of the projects which was submitted to NOVACA for NOVACA funding, which is federal highway funding. When we submitted our projects, was West River Road, also one of the project. We submitted about 25 different streets. It's not just East River Road. There was a Ford Road Bridge, West River Road project, East River Road, Cleveland Street, you name it. We almost submitted 25 streets for federal stimulus money. And all these streets, somehow, the Federal Highway and ODOT selected those streets. We had nothing to say which streets are to be selected. We had no ranking. We did not put the ranking. Actually, Ford Road was one of the top on our list because street was closed that time. Somehow, Federal Highway came back and they selected Gateway and East River Road. We had nothing in that decision.
Okay, Joanne, go ahead. Joan, I'm sorry.
Was a study ever done by ODOT or anybody else as far as the traffic on that street on East River? Has any type of survey been done as far as what the traffic is like and what we're going to then have after this is done? Was any study made at all?
The study we had to do is at the intersection, which is 4th Street and East River Street. We had to do the study to warrant the traffic signal there. That was the only study required by ODOT for us to do.
A traffic signal where, sir?
Traffic signal at 4th Street and East River.
Yeah, well, there currently is a traffic signal there.
Well, we still had to do the study there.
But I'm talking about the traffic on the street proper as you are coming from Carlisle and entering actually technically into Elyria and heading up towards Broad Street, as far as the amount of traffic and the speed at which that traffic travels. Has anyone ever even spent a day and counted and looked and checked?
There was no requirement and we never did that.
Okay, but see, here's the problem. I live on that street and nobody up here does. And I can tell you firsthand how many times that I have seen children almost hit on that street, animals almost hit. I watch from my front yard and I can see traffic coming up of the other streets and they're whipping through. My next door neighbor, his son got hit while he was backing out of his father's driveway because somebody was speeding on East River and they were going at 60 miles an hour. And once that place is being wider, you know that these younger kids mostly, they're going to really put that pedal to the metal. And this is what my concern is. Aside from the fact that you're going to make the place look like a battle zone. I mean, you have any idea what this is going to look like when you're done? I mean, and Mayor Grace, you live not too far away, so you'll be seeing it every day. But the thing is that that street is lovely right now. And you're going to have all these trees gone, and you're going to have mud and junk and filth for years to come. And that if you think that's not going to devalue our homes, then you tell me what is. I mean, the whole project makes no sense.
Joan, I know you're pretty passionate about this and you feel very strongly. I've got several friends that live on that street. I contacted them all and they don't see any problem with it. I know you don't want to hear that, but...
well, you know what? I would like to talk to them. I would like their names and numbers.
Slager, Springfield, and Amelia.
Okay.
For Beanners. And I'll be more than happy to call you tomorrow and give you those people.
I talked to a woman last night and she's absolutely upset about it, but unfortunately she's very sick and she couldn't make it into the meeting.
Gotcha.
And her comments directly to me where she said it's going to be a real racetrack.
Well, we hope not. And like I said, I've talked to the police chief.
When the first kid's laying in the middle of the ground.
Well, I don't wish for that. We're trying to improve the neighborhood, and again, we're not going to make you happy tonight. I know that, and I want you to come up and speak, and I'm glad you did. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
Any questions from the